Verse 457. The Deva vehicle, the Brahma vehicle, the Sravaka vehicle, the Pratyekabuddha vehicle, and the Tathagata vehicle, of these I speak. I think I'll also read verse 458 because it kind of follows on from it. So long as there is a mind making conscious efforts, there can be no culmination as regards the various vehicles. When a revulsion takes place in the mind, there is neither a vehicle nor one who rides in it. There are a great number of Buddhist teachings, and in the Buddha's own life, he spoke with anybody and everybody. He would have spoken with wandering ascetics, Brahmins, philosophers, as well as those in the order that he founded. He would have spoken to others who had become consolidated in enlightenment to a greater or lesser extent. And all of this is summed up in this idea of vehicles. The Buddha would have spoken to people in accordance with their own level of understanding. He would rarely, if ever, have dismissed anybody. So this is what's meant by the different vehicles. And we've heard of some of these vehicles before, the Sravaka vehicle and the Pratyekabuddha vehicle. The Deva vehicle and the Brahma vehicle, we haven't really heard of these before, so they're quite interesting terms. The Deva vehicle, this would be known as the Deva Yana being vehicle. This would have been a concern for many people in India, and still is nowadays. This is concerned with having a good birth, a good rebirth. This understanding is ingrained in the Indian psyche that we are reborn in some form or another after this life. This was the natural assumption. And I think it is a natural assumption to make the idea that things stop at the point of death. It goes against everything which is natural. Everything gets recycled. So why shouldn't our emotions and thoughts get recycled? But never mind that. The Buddha talked to people who were concerned with getting a good birth. This would be the Devayana. They were concerned with being reborn into a God realm. Basically, if you want to be reborn into a God realm, then you practice good deeds. And such deeds are common to most religious systems. They're largely to do with concern for others. Showing concern and practicing compassion, being charitable to others. Not acting from selfishness. So that's the Devayana. There's also the Brahmayana. And this term, I think, is a cause of some consternation. The Brahmayana, well, Brahma has got various associations. Brahma is the creator god in Hinduism, part of the Trinity of Brahma, Shiva and Vishnu. But the Brahmayana could also refer to the Brahman being the priestly caste. Brahman can also refer to the absolute reality. And in some of the earliest suttas, the Buddha refers to his eightfold path as the Brahmayana. It's the path to the ultimate reality. Now, some Buddhists don't like this term because they understand Brahman as some kind of underpinning reality. And Buddhism doesn't go in for that. But they're being a little bit obtuse here. You can use the word Brahman as a term for absolute truth. Words always have limitations, so we have to use them fluidly. So the Buddha described following the eightfold path as the Brahmayana. So this is a more specifically Buddhist understanding. It's the development of the idea that you want to become a better person. You might end up in a God realm, you might end up in a good birth, ending up in a God realm, or you might even get liberated at some point. So the Sravaka vehicle, these will be those that become Buddhists, become ordained into the Buddhist order, the Buddhist Sangha. The Pratyekabuddha, these are those who are not necessarily part of the order, but have reached the truth, possibly sitting in that truth and enjoying it, or enjoying the bliss of meditation. But the main point about the Pratyekabuddha is they don't communicate it. There's some debate about this, because once you find this truth, you do want to communicate it. But as the Buddha himself, when he first established himself in enlightenment, when he realized that this truth is too subtle to communicate, and he almost became a Pratyekabuddha himself, but he went on to become the teacher we know as the Buddha. And the Tathagata Yana, and the Tathagata vehicle, the Tathagata Yana, this is a strange one. The Tathagata is one who dwells in suchness, and perhaps there are those spiritual seekers who strive to abide in suchness. This is certainly the highest goal. But as we're warned in the next verse, 458, we must be careful that along with the solidification of all these ideas of particular teachings or particular vehicles, the idea that there's actually something that you can do with your mind to reach these goals, well, it's never going to happen. It's not a matter of there being anything that you can do. That's what verse 458 is telling us. So long as there is a mind making conscious efforts, there can be no culmination as regards the various vehicles. And this is the problem if you're a spiritual seeker. You're looking for a teaching, you're looking for a way, you're looking for what's called here a vehicle, something that when you engage with it, it will take you to enlightenment. And this can't happen. This can never happen. At some point, you must move from being a spiritual seeker to a spiritual practitioner. And this can only happen, as verse 458 says, when a revulsion takes place in the mind. Now, revulsion is not quite the right word. What it means is when the mind turns around. Revulsion means a revolt, and it's a revolt against the normal direction of the mind. And the normal direction of the mind is the direction of the attention. And the direction of the attention is to objects, to entities, to thoughts, ideas. That's the normal direction of the mind. Its outwards is sometimes described as outflows. The attention is always outflowing. But if you can come back to a moment when this wasn't happening, and there very possibly has been such a moment in your life, when the attention was still in itself, well, this is the revulsion. This is the revolt of the mind. It's a very quiet revolt, isn't it? It's not filled with all sorts of horror and disgust. Not at all. It's when the mind is not in its habitual mode, that of wanting to grasp things with the attention. It's when the attention is resting in itself. This is when you touch true peace. This is the realization of pure awareness. And you realize there's neither a rider nor a vehicle. Because this idea of somebody who wants to achieve something from out there is based on a certain understanding, a certain relationship between a me here and the world out there. So the spiritual seeker is looking for a teacher, looking for a way. The spiritual practitioner is no longer doing that, is no longer seeking, but has remembered a time when the mind, when the attention is at rest in itself and is alive to that possibility, and now no longer goes along with the habitual outflow of the attention. And this is what I call spiritual practice or enlightenment practice. It's something which can be practiced right now. You might be looking at the video or hearing these words, but hear them not from over here, but from where you are. Come back to your own sense of being. Be vibrant in it. Ignore these words. Ignore me. This is the way